Right, welcome to the big story this morning. As U.S. airstrikes and broader military operations against Iran intensify, the United States Congress is gearing up for a high-stake debate over President Donald Trump's authority to wage war without explicit congressional authorization. Lawmakers from both parties, talking about the Democrats and the Republicans, are pushing rival war powers resolutions, with some seeking to rein in the president's actions and others defending his constitutional prerogatives. But President Donald Trump has pressed ahead with sweeping military airstrikes against Iran, despite private warnings from senior aides that the escalation could prove difficult to contain and carry significant political risk for Republicans in November's midterm elections. Let's take a listen to Donald Trump.
We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now, it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands, armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50
We just finished an update with Admiral Brad Cooper, the CENTCOM commander, across the CENTCOM AOR, our leadership and troops, as you would expect, doing a fantastic job. 2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly, except for their constant chants of death to America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan.
All right, so, you heard Donald Trump is not backing down yet. And we've seen support, even though some have also criticized him. Why are you getting involved in Iran's activities where you are the president of, well, the most powerful nation in the world, some will say, and there are issues of governance to face. But then, Pete Hegseth have said that, look, anyone who takes the lives of Americans or threatens Americans anywhere in the world will be hunted down without apology or hesitation. That is a direct support to what President Donald Trump is doing in Iran or in the Middle East. Let's take a listen to Pete.
Funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
Pith Hexed, saying, if you hunt Americans down anywhere in the world, we will hunt you and kill you. That was a direct word from him. Also confirming what is in store for Iran, Marco Rubio, who is the U.S. Secretary of State, has said that whatever Iran has faced is nothing compared to what is in store for Iran. Are we going to see another high-level airstrike in Iran? I don't know, but let's listen to Marco Rubio.
They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. Honestly, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation.
So, the fate of the world is hanging by a thread. Are we already sliding into a third world war? Because that is what some people who have been monitoring developments for the last couple of hours are saying. And while some is saying, look, what Donald Trump is trying to do is to create a free society for the Iranians. Is Trump truly creating a free society for Iran, or is creating more trouble? Remember, Mexico, the cartel, Venezuela, Nigeria. And in this move, we've seen presidents ousted. So, what are the dangers of what Trump is doing right now with the world? There is Ifoma right here with me, and there is the pastoral Samson taking a pastoral look this morning. And we can settle our scores later, Samson. You know, apologies. So let me start with you, Samson.
Mm-hmm.
Do you fancy what Trump is doing in Iran?
Okay.
You can feel free to reference what he has done with other countries,
Mm-hmm.
what he did in Nigeria, what he did in Venezuela earlier. I think it was during the Christmas/New Year period.
Yeah, right.
And now Iran killing their supreme leader, Ayatollah, and about 40 other, persons working with him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you fancy what he's doing? Do you think he's going through the right way at this point?
Now I'm going to start with these. I will say, trust me, the world does not need another nuclear power. And as it stands, that's why Putin keeps getting away with what he's doing in Ukraine. That's why nobody has been able to do anything about North Korea. Okay? Because international leaders know that once you have nuclear power, you're almost untouchable, because anyone who touches you, you have a capability to strike back.
Yeah.
And everybody is afraid to touch a nuclear power because the world would be on the brink of total destruction. Now, what Trump is doing here is something I give my support to. And I feel he's taking action on behalf of other people. It's what Trump is doing is what other leaders are afraid of doing. And as of his present time of action, it's the best time to act. Yes, exactly. He has saved the whole world from unnecessary stress. Because why would you look at a country whose leaders are referring to your country as the big Satan, and they're referring to Israel as the little Satan? A country whose leaders would say, we would wipe Israel off, like literally saying we would wipe off an entire nation off the face of the earth. Now, how do they intend to do that? Certainly by nuclear weapons, because before now, Iran had obtained up to 60% uranium enrichment.
Yeah.
Now, once you attain that, you have reached a level that you can develop nuclear weapons.
And you can do as you will.
You can do as you will. So that's action, or rather that's word about to be backed by action. Now, if Trump had not stepped in
And
to
also
do what he
considering the
did,
fact they're also an extremist. It's an extremist nation.
exactly.
So
And
let's get that very clear.
as far back as 1986, the US had already, together with other Western countries, had already pegged the Iranian regime, okay, led by the Ayatollahs,
Yeah,
right,
Khomeini.
as the global sponsor of terrorism. And if you look Iran's actions in the Middle East, Iran acts by proxy. Iran is behind Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Iran is behind Hamas in Gaza. Iran is behind the Houthis in Yemen.
Yeah.
You understand? This is Iran acting through
Supporting.
proxies.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
openly
not,
supporting, and they don't
they don't hide it.
Yeah.
Okay, even though they're not directly attacking people, they are doing so indirectly. So Iran has built a wide chain of non-state actors operating within the Middle East there that have the capability to even reach out and even strike outside of the Middle East. You have Iran's influence in Iraq. You have Iran's influence in Syria.
Yeah.
Iran's influence is too widespread, and sadly, dangerously so, it's in support of non-state actors. During of course there's a ceasefire right now between Israel and Hamas, but during the height of that conflict, we saw Iran's proxies acting against Israel. Hezbollah stood in Lebanon, which is a sovereign country with its own government and with its own military. But then there is a second military in Lebanon, which is Hezbollah, taking so much action without control, all because they have a base, which is Iran, okay,
supplying them.
Supplying them.
Yeah.
So that undermines the authority of the Lebanese government and undermines the authority of the Lebanese military. Do you understand? So during the height of the Gaza-Israeli conflict, Hezbollah was attacking Israel alongside Israel fighting Hamas. Now, any ships going through the Arabian Gulf,
Yeah.
yes, between Africa and Yemen, were being attacked. As long as you're an American ship, as long as you're an Israeli ship, or even if you're not a ship that bears the flag of any of these countries, but you're heading towards Israel,
and you're
aligned to Israel, the Houthi rebels will shoot you with missiles. If they don't do that, they would get on your ship and hijack it. Exactly. So why should you not take action against
these people?
Exactly. Why should you not take action against a sponsor of actors like these in the Middle East that have the capability to even strike outside of the Middle East? So what Trump is doing here right now is something that I gave him my full backing.
Yeah, when you look at the objectives of Donald Trump, neutralize Iran's nuclear base, destroy all their missile assets, destroy their navy power, regime change in Iran. And when you look at what has happened, they have almost achieved, let's say 3 out of 4. I think as of latest reports, they have already flagged down, I think, about 10 to 11 Navy ships. They have killed their supreme leader. That's almost happened in minutes. But then, what lesson do you think Nigeria should learn from this? Because whether I would like it or not, we as a nation, we are facing insecurity issues in Nigeria. And we've heard stories upon stories that some of the people actually sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria are, even though they have insiders, allegedly, there are also external forces. And one cannot tell if they are linked to some of these countries that, Samson just carefully and...
Like he narrate?
I mean...
It was a narration.
Yeah. So before we even come
Clean
to
narration.
the check on Trump's authority, what should Nigeria learn
A
from
whole
this?
lot. In as much as what Trump is doing is for and against, because as a president, he was elected by people, and the lawmakers make law to favor the people. So even as a president, he has the authority as it's recorded in their constitution, to respond to threats without endless deliberation. Because threats to life, you might say, okay, let us talk about it. Let us review this and that. And people are dying.
People are already dying.
So I think I feel that is why he has that, powers to make decision. Then the other hand, lawmakers are talking about, we have a law in place. We have how we align with other countries, right? We have a way we step into situations that we are not called for. The lesson Nigeria should learn from this is that nobody is above law, even the president, right? And the president can be called to order. And the president should be working hand in hand with his cabinet, so to say, right? And as a president, I'm talking about Nigerian president, there are things you don't necessarily need long communication. Like when you're a president, let me borrow Igbo line, where they say when you want to be a man, when they give birth to a man, let him be a man. When you are a president, please be a president. I think Trump is just becoming a president. Like, yes, I know that. You wouldn't tell me that Trump doesn't know that these laws are in place. But he's also utilizing his authority as a president. Look at what Iran is doing. You just open your mouth and you'll be threatening people. Okay, what happens to making checks? Even when people trespass your borders, your territory, you have to find out. But provided you are approaching to that, country that they have already tagged enemies, they will attack you. It doesn't speak well. I mean, we have freedom to cohabit. This world is for everybody. And over time, they keep on painting a picture that supposedly they should be ruling over everybody. Every other person looks inferior, provided you don't believe in what they believe in. And thank God that America is a world power.
But let's not be too, let's not blow Trump's trumpet.
We are not. I mean,
Too
come
much.
on. Yeah, come on. There are places that, we will say, no, we don't like Trump in this.
But I think
Yeah.
that there is a need to actually check Trump. Yes, the cause he's fighting for is
Yeah.
good. But, like you say, power corrupts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If we don't check someone like Trump, we might be having another Hitler in disguise.
I agree with
Of
you.
course, Hitler started like this. It starts first from having the ideology that you want to save the world.
You want to protect
You
your
want
own.
to protect your own, right? And when you look at what Trump has done, especially in Mexico, where the World Cup will be played in just, let's say, in the next in June, right? Which is not even far away. They eliminated the highest cartel in Mexico, and everywhere turned upside down. And they were, will Mexico still be able to host the World Cup with America and other countries, hosting the World Cup with them?
Yeah.
And then you look at the way Trump went to Venezuela and then picked a president.
A sitting president.
A sitting president that should be checked. Just hold on.
Yeah,
in
right.
whatever way. See, you don't go and just pick a president, even though the president is wrong. He was elected, but whether he was elected or selected. Now, that is a disregard to the office,
entire nation,
to that country, and to the person of the president. A president of a country.
A president picking another president.
Yeah. And then you go to Iran.
Yeah, right. Now this is it, right? At some point, now look at what was happening in Iran before Trump did what he did. Protests. It was obvious that the vast majority of Iranians did not want the regime, and yet the regime would not let the people go.
About 20,000 people.
People in thousands.
See the jubilation when he was killed.
Do you understand? So eventually,
but some people also still sang death chants to America.
Of course. See, what would you see? Let me tell you something about praise. of course, some people still chanted death to America. We saw videos of people weeping over the death of the
Even on
Ayatollah,
TV as well.
right? Even on TV, we saw newscasters weeping as they were broaching the news of the supreme leader's death. Okay, but of course, you would see these versions as much as you would see versions of people who were happy about his killing or his assassination.
Because they don't want to paint a picture.
Of course, and by the way, they are the governments in power, so they control the media. So
Sure.
So by the way, during the protest, they shut off the internet so that opposition voices could
And
not
then
go
the
out.
United States had to smuggle Starlink into Iran so they can monitor what is happening there.
Eventually, when it gets to this stage where the leadership becomes unpopular and the people want it to go, yet it is refusing to go, eventually external powers will have to play. That is human dynamics.
But you know, we can't sideline the world order.
Yeah.
See, if there are the disadvantages of this are more than the advantages. See, if a country like US decides to go on this, you know, checking into countries and taking away presidents, eliminating them, yes, the intention is right, but the implications
will last longer.
Yeah,
because I agree with you absolutely, Praise, because, you know, looking at what the lawmakers were saying, that what President Trump is doing is actually an impeachable abuse.
Yeah.
And it can be described as reckless. Do you understand? I think that's where the implication comes in.
The Iranians have vowed to retaliate. Of course, they have. In fact, they are retaliating to neighboring countries or even allies to the United States of America with the destruction of the largest refinery in the world owned by the Saudis. And it looks as if, I think I saw a video early this morning where Saudi Arabian was saying that the United States has abandoned them. But let's quickly wrap up this issue of Donald Trump before we move on to what's trending this morning. Should Trump be checked? Because it seems he's stronger than even the Congress itself. And there are people, no, that's the truth. We have to be very honest. There are people calling for him to be checked because of what he's doing. But then, can he be checked? You know, according to the law, he can be checked.
Yeah, he
but
can.
will he?
Yeah, you know, I think I'm going to answer that based on there is a tomorrow, right?
Okay.
He's not going to be president forever. And let him not create a perpetual problem for America, because why he needs to be checked and he needs to accept that he needs to be checked is because of situations like when you talk about foreign policies, alliances. In few years, he will leave the office as a president, but his actions currently
will have a huge impact.
Do you understand?
On the United
Impact.
States
That
of
is why
America.
he needs to be checked, and he has to accept that he needs to be checked.
I'll ask you this question, Samson. What do you think about the United Nations and the way they have really, I don't know, but I don't want to be too hostile with my words, but the way they have responded to the world's conflict. Look at Russia and Ukraine. Look at Israel and the Palestinians, you know. Now Iran, even Iran going as far as killing their own people.
Citizens.
How do you, you know, what's your opinion of the way Iran, the United Nations have responded, the kinds of statements they make, their responses, even what they even sit down to talk about?
Institutions like this.
Institutions like this.
Now, you see, when the United Nations was established a few years after the Second World War, right?
Yeah.
And the motive was to create an assembly of nations that would be able to contain the kind of excesses that eventually led to the Second World War. Yes.
Checks and balances.
But then the greatest mistake, as far as I'm concerned, about that alliance, the United Nations, is the fact that there are 4 or 5 permanent members: France, Britain, UK, China, and the US. Now, these nations, they can veto most of the resolutions. Anyone that doesn't go in favor of them, they veto it. So why keep 5 permanent members that have this much powers to even veto much of the resolutions that the UN passes? So as far as I'm concerned, the UN is useless. The UN is useless because if it were not so, Russia could not have done what it did. All of the steps taken against Russia or proposed to be taken against Russia by the United States, by France, by UK were all vetoed by Russia itself, its representative in the UN, and by China, which is a key ally of Russia.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And even when one vetoes, it stands. So what's the point of the UN? The UN has proven itself weak, and it has become even weaker than it was before. Okay, that's why we see Trump doing what he does. That's why we see Iran doing what it had been doing until Trump stepped in. Okay, driving towards nuclear arming of itself. Do you understand? Nothing really tangible. Even the UN body, that's the IAEA, could not really regulate Iran's nuclear expansion. Iran could censure the IAEA's operations in Iran, hiding what it wants, what it doesn't want the body to see, and letting it see what it wanted to see. So the UN, as far as I'm concerned, has been weak.
And I think I agree with you. I believe that institutions are formed to create order. And just like you rightly said, history provides us that knowledge that why the United Nations was formed after the Second World War was to create order, basically.
Deliberate about how to get
better, how to check people, nations. But in recent years, we've seen, the weakness of that body. And then we'll see it through weak press statements, weak responses, prolonged deliberations. And then we've seen different organizations like the BRICS come up.
Exactly.
Because they feel like maybe the UN is not supporting what we want to support. And then you now have G20 nations coming
G7.
to do their G7 nations coming to. So there are so many perspectives to how the world should look like.
Based on their own view.
So I think maybe if these actions currently taken by Donald Trump was coming from the UN, maybe it would have been better. No one would have been blaming Trump for being too hostile, for being, overreaching, because the way Trump speaks, he said we have the strongest military in the world.
And he said richest and most powerful nation.
And that's so assuring, like he's not guessing.
Actually.
Yeah.
But let's leave Trump for now.
Now, hold on, please, before we move on, I need to say this. What's happening right now is something that points to the fact that Nigeria needs to properly align itself. Our leaders have got to re-engineer their minds and know that the world as it stands right now, you have to stand somewhere.
And
you should not be
US
everywhere.
is already into our matter.
Exactly. We need to start shaping our alliances and not to be everywhere. We're in Turkey today, we're in Germany tomorrow, we're in Saudi Arabia the next, we're in Qatar the next, we're in Iran.
We have
connections with Iran presently as it stands. With the regime in Iran that's being toppled right now, we have connections. Okay, we need to start forming our alliances properly and not to just be all over the place like spilled water. It's shameful.
That's a big lesson for us to actually learn.